last thing by October 1st is 20 observation hours. So you are required to observe, shadow in at least 2 different sites for a total of 20 hours. And I'm gonna address this right away because I think I'm asked by every single person that I talk with is, can I do observation hours right now? What is going on? So the answer to that question is, as of now, you can start observing again. Really, when this first started happening and we were in the red stage, the yellow stage, there were no observation hours going on at all. Now that we're in green, I have been getting observation hours in from people. I can say it's a little bit hit or miss. There still are some offices that are saying no, they want to wait a little bit longer. So normally you might have to just make 1 or 2 phone calls, you know, a couple of phone calls to get your observation hour set up. You might need to make a few more phone calls till you can get the 2 that would allow you. There are forms for that, and I will email those to you later if I haven't already. And also just what it says here, we do only enroll 30 students per term. There's a max of 30, and I'll explain how the 30 come about in a little bit. So this is important. Central Penn College is accredited by the Middle States Commission on Higher Education. That's pretty typical of most colleges in the Central Pennsylvania area. And what I think is awesome is that our PTA program actually has its own accreditation. So our PTA program is accredited by CAPTI, and they're the ones who kind of oversee all our rules and regulations, make sure we're doing everything the way we should. And they're also the ones that oversee our national certification exam. So with this program, you do need to graduate, take your boards, pass them, and get your license in order to work in the industry as a PTA. Okay, so talking about Lancaster now, I work both campuses. So earlier today I was talking about Summerdale. So Lancaster mode, the program in Lancaster is a part-time evening program. It does take 2 years to complete. That's including internship. Yeah, can you flip to the next slide, Derek? I think, yeah, what I wanted to say. So when you look at the academic year, everyone asks me, they want to know when do I have to come to class? So with the Lancaster Center, part-time evenings, so you'll be expected to be on campus 2 nights a week from 5:30 to 9:30, and then there's some online aspect to the program. So for the first year, you're you're on campus Mondays and Wednesdays from 5:30 to 9:30, and then the second year it switches to Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5:30 to 9:30, and then you will have probably maybe 1 or 2 online classes as well, depending on what you transfer in and what your schedule looks like. We go all year round, so 11-week terms with 2-week breaks in between. So if you start in January, the beginning of January we start, you'll have an 11-week term, and then you'll have a 2-week break. Then after your 2-week break, you come back, it's now your next term, brand new classes, and then a 2-week break. So it's you go like that until you finish 11-week terms with 2-week breaks in between. The 2 years to graduate at Lancaster does include your internship. So I'm skipping ahead a little bit on the slide, but you will at the end of your coursework complete an internship. It's a total of 14 weeks, 2 sites, 7 weeks each. Steve Campbell, who's the other professor in Lancaster, he's not on here with Dr. Eberly, but he helps set up your internship. So you kind of give suggestions, you know, where you want to go, maybe what you want to get into. In the end, he makes all the contact with the physical therapy offices, and he finalizes and sets up everything because we need to make sure that you have 2 good sites. In general, at Central Penn, the student to faculty ratio is 16:1. However, in PTA, we do accept 30 people into the program, so the maximum amount of people that would be in your class would be 30. I will tell you, you're not going to be sitting in the back of the class and knowing who you are. Everyone's going to know you. You're probably going to work hands-on with them, and Dr. Eberly's going to know you. You know, Steve's going to know you. So it's very I always call it tight-knit. Dr. Everly can probably attest to that. I've seen lots of the students over there. So mentioned internship, transfer credits, we do accept transfer credits. So the entire PTA program is 79 credits. Of those, you can transfer in a maximum of 30 general education credits. So technically, those other 49 credits are core PTA courses, which we'll show the core courses in a few minutes. And 8 of those credits are internship. If I haven't already worked with you, you get me your transcripts. If you attended more than one college, we actually need every transcript for every college that you've attended. And then I submit those to Stephanie Humphreys. You get back a roadmap of what transferred in and what's remaining to take. So we have a lot of support on campus. At the Lancaster Center, this support is there. It may be you have to schedule it though. So for instance, we have a learning center with tutoring options. In Summerdale, it's kind of all the time, it's there. You can always walk in. It's there at Lancaster too, you just might have to schedule it. So we have a learning center with tutoring opportunities. We have Tom, our counselor, who comes to the Lancaster Center, and you can work with him on any kinds of like problems, stress, anxiety, things like that, someone to talk to. And you'll be assigned a faculty advisor who will be a professor, either Dr. Everly or Steve, that will kind of work with you through the program, guide you, maybe help you picking the right classes and things like that. And then last, we also have a student success center. So we have a student success coach who's available to help really with kind of any academic problem that, nobody else can help you with. Oh, great. This is important. We just got updated statistics on graduate success, and we take the success of our graduates very seriously. So our career services staff does a lot of work in getting this information. In the most recent year, 90.6% of our graduates were either employed in their industry or had gone on to further their education. So I'm actually super proud of that number. I think that's amazing. We also have a career resource center that you can get help for, on a resume, cover letter. They do kind of like mock interviews, things like that. And you'll do some of that in class as well. Okay, so here's the admissions process that you're going to work through with me. Now, I don't want anyone to stress because I won't let a deadline go by. These things, when I work with you, I will check in with you. I'll give you reminders. I'll kind of make sure that everything's getting done. So a lot of you have already applied already to the program. Thank you. But first step is to apply. We do have a free application. It's a link. It's available on our website, or I can email it to you. When you apply for the program, you would want to apply for the Lancaster Center, and you want to select winter 2021. So it can be a little confusing because what's winter, what's spring. January start is considered winter, so you want to apply winter 2021. So number 2, it doesn't necessarily have to be in this order, by the way, but a campus interview. So you would do an interview normally with me one-on-one, but it's all the same information that we're doing today. So actually today counts as your campus interview as long as you return that sheet to me with those 8 questions. So yeah, you guys can cross something off your list. We got one thing done already. Next, college and high school transcripts. So I did mention already that we do need a high school transcript. If you took SATs or ACTs, I will ask for those scores. They're normally on a high school transcript. So sometimes if I don't see it, I may reach out to you like, hey, did you take your SATs? You can go on the College Board and pretty easily get those scores. College transcripts, as I mentioned, very important. So I would need to see all your college transcripts, and also your GPA must be at least a 2.5. So that is not negotiable. There's things that I can work with you if maybe it's not quite there. But we would take all your college transcripts, kind of average them together to say it easily, and then your total GPA must be a 2.5. That's how I see what transfers in. Now, the program in Lancaster, when you transfer in those credits, it does not shorten the program. The program takes 2 years regardless. What it does do for you to transfer in credits is it helps lighten your load. So when you're working on those, you know, maybe a little bit tougher PTA core courses, then you would have those gen eds knocked out and you wouldn't have to take them in addition. And okay, number 4, observation hours. As I mentioned earlier, 20 observation hours, total 2 sites, total of 20 hours, and I will reach out and make sure you have the forms when you go to do that. You do contact them yourself. You basically, I'm applying to Central Penn's PTA program. Part of what I need to do is shadow and observe. May I do that in your facility? And then take it from there and try and get it scheduled. 2 letters of recommendation. Just a lot of people ask managers, you know, people that they work with, professors, if you're maybe attending another college, some people that are still in high school, of course, ask teachers and coaches, things like that. So just have them write up a little letter attesting to your character, all those good things about you, and why they think you'd be a good fit for the program, and have them email that to me. So all those things, 1 through 4, are due by October 1st. Now, this next part is extremely important. After all those items are completed, everyone who turns in all those items is invited to campus on the same day at a certain time to do interview with a faculty and write an essay. So you'll meet, it's usually one-on-one, depending on how many professors and faculty I have and how many potential students I have. You'll meet one-on-one, let's say with Dr. Eberly. She's going to chat with you kind of like, oh, why do you want to be a PTA? Oh, how are your observation hours? You know, what characteristics do you have that would make you a good PTA, and whatever else she wants to chat with you about. And then you will write a brief essay. And then after you do all that, all these things kind of have a score attached to them. The scores go into a rubric, and then that's how this top 30 are determined. Now, everyone always stresses out about this. Oh my gosh, what if I'm not in the top 30? So here's the advice that I usually give is just do the best that you can on all your items to try to be in that top 30. If you're not in the top 30 and you get a minimum score, you can go on a wait list. So, you know, there's still an opportunity for you possibly to get in. There's numerous reasons why someone in the top 30 might not actually start. It could be financial aid related, maybe something changes in their life, and then we go onto the wait list, and then we work our way down through the wait list. And then admission decision, then I get to make all my fun phone calls. Congratulations, you're accepted. And then segue, Kelly will work with you very heavily with financial aid. And I believe next is Kelly to chat with you about financial aid.
You are correct, Amy. So my name is Kelly Fox, and I will be working with you guys throughout the financial aid process. So since all of you are looking at the winter term, the FAFSA that's currently out there, the 2021 FAFSA, is the one that you would complete so that we can put together your financial aid package. So that FAFSA will use your 2018 taxes to answer all of the questions, and it will determine your eligibility for grants, loans, work study, and some scholarships. So you can complete that now. If additional paperwork is needed, then I would request that from you so we have everything to go, so that once we know if you've been accepted into the program, we can then work on getting everything packaged, and I can work on your course mapping for you. Next slide, Derek. So we do have scholarships on our website, and I highly encourage students to apply for scholarships. If you already have a bachelor's degree or would transfer in 30 credits, you will automatically receive a transfer student scholarship of $1,000. It is divided over your first 3 terms, and there is no application for that. We also match outside scholarships up to $1,000. So if you would receive any outside scholarship from your church, your high school, a community group, your work, you would just let us know that you won that. And again, we would add the matching scholarship, no application for that one. But all the other scholarships, the applications on our website at centralpenn.edu/scholarships. Next page. Thank you. So what you'll want to do is once the FAFSA is submitted, and we know you've been accepted, I will be the one communicating with you your course mapping. So if you're transferring in credits, I will take all of that into consideration and figure out how many credits you're taking each term, and then map out what the financial aid is going to look like for your first year and what your costs will be for the first year. And if there's still a remaining balance, what options you have to cover that. So we have payment plans, private loans, parent loans, and all of those options to assist with any remaining balance. So you work with Amy through the admissions process, and then I'll be your main contact throughout the financial aid process. And typically, if you're doing the FAFSA now, you'll only really hear from the financial aid office if we're missing paperwork. Otherwise, you'll start to really heavily hear from us once we know you've been accepted and your financial aid package has been put together. Next slide. Oh, that was my last slide. So I'll put my contact information in the chat. Like I said, the FAFSA that's out there now is the one that you can complete so that we can start to work on your financial aid for the January term. And then we'll have you work on the newest FAFSA once you get a little further into the program to finish up your course mapping. And I will transition over to Dr. Eberly.
Thank you, Kelly. So thank you everyone for your interest in the Lancaster program. I see there's a lot of participants here tonight. That's a really good sign. I really am looking forward to seeing everyone personally in October. So get going with your application, and I know Amy will stay on you for everything, every step of the way. Amy does a great job. So I'd like to give you a chance to look at the program. So, oh yes, that's me. I'm the lead faculty, and I do have my doctorate in physical therapy from Newman University. And I gotta tell you, Newman is a very interesting program. It's a weekend program. And because I went through this program, I totally understand where you folks are coming from. Our program is really directed to attract the working student. So the student who works all day and then comes to school at night. And I did the same thing. I worked all through the week, and then on weekends, I went to PT school. So I was balancing family, I was balancing bills and mortgages and kids, and a lot of my students are in the same boat. And so I totally understand where the students are coming from. And I try to meet their needs, knowing what I went through. And I try to have that in mind every step of the way. So you can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. This is our contact information, Lancaster faculty. I'm the lead faculty. And then I also work with Stephen Campbell. Stephen Campbell might pop in. He does teach tonight, so he might be popping in to explain the affiliations. If he does not get here, I will do my best to give you all the information you need about affiliations. You do know you do have to go out and work for free for a few weeks. I should say 14 weeks plus 2, but you learn a lot. And so it's just part of what's expected in the field. And it's a great experience. And I'm teaching a group right now. The students just came back from their 2-weeker, and they just had a phenomenal experience. And it's so great to hear all the good positive comments. So next slide, please. These are all the courses that you could look forward to taking. And you might be thinking, oh, I already took anatomy and physiology. I already took anatomy and physiology too. Why am I taking it again? Well, our A&P classes are focused on what you need to know as a PTA. It's highly, it's muscle focused, it's muscle actions, it's directed to things that you definitely need to know every day in the clinic. And there's also competencies. So we talk about wounds, we talk about dressings and staging wounds in those classes, and you have to pass competencies, which I'll talk about very shortly. So Amy was alluding to very intense PTA classes, and they would be at the end. It starts really with kinesiology, and then our thorax and neuro classes. So that's at the very end, and it's a really good idea to get all your other classes out of the way. As I said, this program is really to attract the working student, and so if you're working all day and then coming to class at night, you really don't want to have the English and the math classes hanging over your head as well. So I always encourage people to get them out of the way early And then you can really have time to focus on studying for your kines class and your neuro class. Okay, that's next slide. Let's talk about lab. We have a lot of labs, and almost every class that is PTA related, you will have a lab. And we do everything that you would do in a clinic as a PTA. And when we treat people in a clinic, there are times we have to get to body parts. And so we encourage you to wear athletic attire and not to wear flip-flops or anything that would not be athletic, because we do everything that we would ask our patients to do. And, you know, there is sometimes you might have to expose body parts, and so that's why it says about sports bras, etc. But we don't make you do anything you're uncomfortable with, so it's not forced upon you. The typical PTA uniform is a polo shirt and khakis. And when we have our competencies, I tell people that you should be dressed professionally. And so people wear their polo shirts. We have a company that we can purchase PTA gear, I call it. And so it's Central Penn PTA gear. And a lot of students purchase that early. And so they have polo shirts that they can wear that say PTA Central Penn on it. And it's kind of nice, but if you look the part, you'll be successful, I think. And so you feel like you're during comps, you're a real PTA. And then I mentioned about the proper footwear. Next slide, please. Attendance policy. Attendance is mandatory. We're only on campus 2 4-hour blocks of time, and we cover a ton of information. And if you miss one class, you've missed 4 hours of class. And we move like the wind. I mean, we're like from one topic to the next to the next. And so attendance is super important. Now, I'm not going to tell you you can not, you know, go on a trip with the family, or if you know something ahead of time, let us know. But if you are going to be missing, we hope that it's going to be a serious planned event and not just, you know, I just don't feel like going to class. If you do that, you will notice that your grades will slip, and I will be talking about grades shortly. Next slide. Oh, here they are, the grades. Do you notice there's nothing under 77%? Our PTA classes, if you get below a 77, you do not pass. It's just like a 76 is a fail. So we really want a highly successful student, and we cut off our grading at a C+, which is 77. You have a very challenging board exam to take. And we found that people who are A's and B's students, they have no problem passing the board exam. But the people who slip by with a C, and prior to this grading scale, when they were in D's, the D zone, sure, in some colleges you might pass with a D, but we have found that students do not learn and retain enough to pass the board exam. So we had to move that grading scale up to a 77%. So you are expected to be a top-notch student and get really good grades while you are here at Central Penn, and that just increases your chance of passing that board exam on the first attempt. Next slide. Competencies. So when we are working in our lab here at school, we are preparing you to do a competency. And a competency would be a skill check. And when you are being checked for your competency, we have a list, it's a rubric, and you have to score at least 80% in order to pass your competency. If you fail a competency, you are allowed to take it again. But if you fail twice, now this is serious, you could end up flunking a class, and you don't want to fail a class. So competencies are super important. We have to demonstrate that you have demonstrated to us that you have enough skill in order to treat a patient safely and with appropriate interventions. So there are competencies the whole way through, they're one-on-one, and it's good. And at the end, you're doing a full treatment on people, and so we have to attest to the fact that you are a safe clinician and that you're going to do an excellent job with the patients. Next one. Oh, there's Stephen. So this is Steve Campbell, and he's the ACCE. He is the person who finds your affiliations. You don't have to go out to the clinics. In fact, we don't encourage you to do that. He will find your placement. Now, he does ask for suggestions depending upon where you live. You might have to drive up to an hour. So, you know, it's a little hard to find placements, especially in hospitals these days. COVID has changed things just a bit, but he works really hard finding placements for everyone. And he also teaches many of the classes. So between Steve and I, we're the Lancaster campus instructors. So we really do get to know each other quite well. The internships, the first one is a 2-week internship. And you're sort of there to observe, but then you've already taken Therax, you've already taken modalities and kinesiology. And so they might ask you to treat somebody with an ultrasound unit. You'll apply e-stim, you will do measures, you'll take somebody through their exercise program, and that's at the 2-week internship. Then after you complete neuro, you would go into your 2 7-week internships. And we try to place you in an inpatient for 1 7-week session and then an outpatient for 1 7-week internship session. However, like I said, the hospital placements are really hard to get. We will try our best, but you will be out working though, and you will have a great experience because people come back and they're just so thrilled to be doing the job. As I said, Steve will place you and he will determine, by then he knows you quite well. He will know you very well, and he will know what site you're best suited for because we want you to have a successful experience. And I don't even have to say this, but you know, the professional manner that's expected. Much of what we do in class, everything is professionally focused, and so we don't anticipate anybody acting unprofessionally on their internships. Next slide. So I guess that's something I can say, or whoever wants to end it up. Am I passing it on to Amy?
I think, do we have some questions in the chat, Lisa?
We have a couple. So if you guys have more questions as we were talking, please feel free to put it in. But we will get started on that. The first one is I'm a senior this year in high school. Would HAC English credits be transferable in this course?
Yes. So HAC's English 101 and English 102 are the 2 English courses that basically are the exact equivalency to ours. And I'm not sure who asked that question, but we can talk individually just to make sure that you're picking the right classes that will transfer in.
Okay. Amy, how many credits can transfer into this program?
A maximum of 30 general eds. So the entire program is 79 credits. Of those 79, your internship is worth 8 credits. And so technically it's like 49 credits of core courses and 30 that is possible to transfer in. And you know what, I'm so sorry. I wanted to say this earlier and I didn't. And Dr. Eberly didn't say it either. That 2-week field experience that you mentioned is over a break, correct? Yes, Dr. Eberly, yeah. So you kind of lose a 2-week break there. It's more towards the end of the program, but I like to make sure everyone knows that ahead of time because, like we mentioned, a lot of you do work during the day, and you should have ample time to plan for that, but I just wanted to say that, so thank you.
It's right after therapeutic exercise. It's
Okay.
right before neuro, which is their last class.
Towards the end, okay.
Okay. And Amy, can you just double check after this to make sure that Taylor gets the interview questions?
Yes. Taylor Perez?
Yes.
I know Taylor can't respond to me, but I think we already did an interview, Taylor, and that's why I didn't send it to you, but I'll double check.
And then Kelly, this one's for you from a financial aid or from a financial standpoint. Can you provide total cost of program without any financial aid?
So we are $404 a credit. So if you are not transferring in any credits, you'd be paying that for the 79 credits, which is probably right around the 40,000. However, if you're transferring in credits, obviously that's less you're paying out of pocket here, and I will provide that information to you when I do your course mapping. Even if you're not planning to use financial aid, I will map everything out for you at acceptance so you know exactly how much each term is going to cost. We can kind of go from there and figuring out what each term balance will be depending on how many credits that you're taking.
Right, thank you, Kelly. How many credits are in each 11-week semester, and how many semesters are there? That was the first part. I don't know if Amy or Lori want to take that.
So there's 6 terms of coursework and internship. 7 terms of coursework. Thank you. I'm
That's
sorry.
okay.
Somebody else.
Back and forth, I know.
7 terms of internship. You are completed within the 2 years. And then Kelly, maybe you want to talk about how many credits per term?
Right. It's all going to depend on your transfer evaluation. So if you are transferring credits, the less credits that you'd be taking each term. Typically, you'll always be taking between 6 and 7 credits, especially if you're transferring out of credits. If you're not transferring in credits, then you're probably going to be going more full-time, which is like 10 to 12 credits each term. But it all does depend on if you're transferring credits.
Okay. The second part of that question was, what are the opportunities for educational advancement after graduating with this degree? Lori, you want to take that?
Oh, sure. So here in Central Penn, we have a healthcare management BS program, which a lot of our students are very interested in, because you'd be surprised how many PTA become bosses.
Mm-hmm.
And so that prepares you to learn the business side of the physical. And so they slide right into the boss job, and that's a nice pay increase. But then I've also had the pleasure of writing letters of recommendation, and people have moved to school. So that's another step. A lot of times people work in the field for a while, get their feet wet, and then they decide whether or not they want to do it. And if things are going well, I can do this. I can become a PT. They decide to move on to PT. And we do have a health science program here at Central Penn, where let's say you don't have all your physics classes or your bios or your chemistries, you can take them here at Penn, and that can, just springboard you into PT school. But the PT program prepares you very well for PT school. In fact, I was just in touch with one of my former students, and she's doing extremely well, because she says it's everything we taught. In fact, we are using many of the books that I have used in my preparation in PT school. It's not an easy program. I have to tell you folks it's a challenging program, but you are going to be well prepared to decide where you want to be. And like I said, a lot of PTAs are becoming the boss. They're the directors of the long-term care facility. They move into management.
So these are great questions, guys. How do I get my high school transcript if out of school for 20 years?
I've had people I'm of that age as well. You should still be able to get it. Right now, usually I recommend calling the school, maybe checking with the guidance office. Right now, due to COVID, of course, some of them aren't open or have specific hours. I would say probably just go on the high school website and request a transcript, and you should be able to get it.
Do you know how many credits per term the Summerdale program has?
It's all based off your transfer evaluation typically. So if you're not transferring in credits, it's going to be around 13 to 14 a term. But if you're transferring in credits, we'll take that into consideration and map that out for once we have your transfer evaluation.
And if I don't know who asked that, but if there's someone who individually wants to work with me in Summerdale versus Lancaster and how it varies, shoot me an email and we'll talk individually a little bit more about that specific.
What does the online aspect of the program look like? What types of assignments can I expect? First part of that question. So I'll let you start with that, Lori.
So our educational learning system is Blackboard. It's a learning management system. And Blackboard is very easy to use. It's very student friendly. And your classes that are online will be like 50-50. 50% of your classes are online and 50% on ground. If it has a lab, you will be on ground. If it doesn't have a lab, like your pathology classes, there's no lab. It's on you to go through the Blackboard program. Now there's assignments, there's discussion board. The quizzes are proctored here on campus. So you don't take your quizzes at home, but you'll take your quizzes here on campus. But it's sort of a good practice for your I guess discipline in studying, and you have to be very disciplined to study for the board exam. So if you are good with online following week by week, because you usually have a whole week to do everything, and scheduling your time, you know, time management is a huge part of this program. And if you're good at that, you will be very successful with your online class, because that's what it's all about.
That leads into the second part of this question, is how much time do students typically spend on assignments studying each day?
Oh, each day. So typically they tell you for every hour in class, you should spend 2 hours studying. That's just, you know, or college education. However, with our program and you're working, you know, people figure out a way to study at lunch. They study in chunks. They study at lunch, they study after dinner, but people are usually studying a good 2 hours every night. Now, some people like to study really hard before a quiz, but I don't encourage people to do the cramming, because our program, you need to remember everything. And for those of you who have already gone through college, when you cram things, it just kind of seeps out real fast. So you need to keep building every night, be disciplined. Hey, I'm going to go study for 2 hours. And then you don't have that long 8-hour cram and that you do half of it anyway. So if you got to discipline yourself, and also share with your family that this is what you want to do, and you don't need distractions. And so I always tell people, don't plan weddings, don't plan babies, don't plan any major life event. Sometimes that happens and people are still successful, but don't complicate your world, because it is a lot of studying, and it's to be dedicated. I had some of my students here. Usually we have students, right, Amy? But they're not here, and they share stories. You know, you may know everybody in the program.
Right, and the last part of that question, and then we'll give you a break in a minute.
Okay.
Going to Lancaster 2 nights a week, how much access would I have to equipment, labs to practice, master my skills and techniques?
So I am here every day. Now, prior to COVID, I was here every Monday, Wednesday. I'm the one who teaches Tuesday, Thursday. So I was here during the day for Mondays and Wednesdays. And then now I'm at home Mondays through Wednesday, because we're all online except for my lab. But Tuesday, Thursday, I start the day here around 1:30. And a lot of students come in early before class, especially if we have a competency. And I'm here to help them. And we work through questions and problems. If there's like some type of project they're working on, I'm here. And we're not here on Fridays, I have to tell you off the bat. Usually people don't want to take class on Friday night, but I do home care, and I tend to see patients on Fridays. And Steve works at a hospital, and he tends to work at a hospital on Fridays, because we like to have our hand in it, and that gives us an opportunity to still be practicing clinicians.
All right, another question came in is, if your grade slips and you fail a class, what happens next? Do you have to wait till the next year to try again?
Actually, it doesn't happen too often, but when it does, we have the option of sending you up to Summerdale. And we are like not exactly lockstep. They're like term either ahead of us or behind us. And so it works out that we can send you up to Summerdale. And you are also, depending upon what class it is, if it's not a prereq, then you could be taking a class during the day in Summerdale and then still continue with your cohort in the evening. And no one really mentioned cohort yet, but a cohort is the group that begins together and travels along through the whole process together. You are with the same group. And what Amy said, that you get very close, yes, you are very close. You're best friends at the end. And we have a pinning, and it's a nice celebration, but it is a family. You stay with that group the whole way through. And if you happen to fail, you take a class up in Summerdale, but at night you would still be with your group until you pass. Now you can only repeat a class once. If you fail it twice, you're done. I'm sorry.
Okay. Did you talk about transferring in A&P?
I didn't specifically mention that, so thank you. Dr. Eberle kind of alluded to it, but didn't specifically say it. So anatomy and physiology, a lot of people come to me, they already have degrees, they have some college, they've maybe taken anatomy and physiology. So even if you've taken anatomy and physiology at another college, you still have to take it at Central Penn. And like, Lori was saying, ours is geared towards PTA, towards physical therapy. You do competencies in hours. So if you took A&P, it normally still transfers in, but it comes in as like a science elective. So you don't lose like the credit, you still get some credit transferred in, but it's not direct and directly equivalent to our A&P. And I have to say, majority of the people that I tell this to are like, you know what, I really don't mind retaking, you know, A&P because I could really use that.
Right, thank you. Are there any other questions that we haven't covered yet? I don't see any more in the chat, but if you have one, feel free to put it in. If you want to set up a time to speak with Amy or Kelly on the process to get to actually get in the classroom with Lori, then you can just type into the chat like that you would like Amy or Kelly to reach out to you, or you can email them directly. Kelly, if you can put your email in there while we're finishing up. I put Amy's in the chat so you could email her directly and she'll reach out after this. You'll also be getting an email probably tomorrow morning, just, you know, thanking you for attending the event. If you haven't applied, there'll be the free application link involved. And then if you want to reach out to Amy as well, her contact information will be in there. Looks like another question popped in. In advance of the term starting in January, are there any resources we should review, research to prepare?
I'll jump on that. A&P 1 is all muscles and bones. So this is a great time that you can just start at your leisure, you know, get those apps. All the students, a lot of students come in with the apps, you know, all the anatomy apps, the free ones. Don't pay any money, but you know, go through it at your leisure and just kind of review some of the muscles and the bones, because that's A&P 1. A&P 2 is dissection. That's when we get into the systems, the heart, the brain, and you will be dissecting.
That sounds exciting.
Fun. Yes, we do have a few minutes. Can I just say something?
Yeah, absolutely.
I work with both Lancaster and Summerdale, and I love them both. But just what I see when I go to Lancaster, because the students don't technically start class until 5:30, but I'll be there working, and around 3 the doorbell starts ringing, and normally that's the PTA students coming in. It may not be all of them, and I know, you know, a lot of people work, but I see them coming in to study together for a quiz they have that night. They've worked on me before, nothing too intense, Laura, but they did like an ultrasound on me, and it was like super cool. They were like practicing, and I just wish that, you know, we usually have a panel of students do this, and they stand in the front of the room and they're super honest and they answer all the questions, and it's amazing. And you know, fortunately we weren't able to do that this time, but they just say the greatest things about the program. They really do. And usually it's about 6 or 7 of them, and you can tell how tight knit they are because they're busting on each other, and you know, one of them works in the office, and you know, oh, he's the one who always knows everything, and it's really cool. It really is a fun, tight knit group. Very proud of the program.
I am willing to carry my computer around if people are interested in looking at the rooms, the labs. If you've never been to the Lancaster Center, I'm willing to do that.
Are you there now?
I'm here right now. Yes, I'm in one of the labs right now. I can pan it around.
Lori, go ahead.
Oh, cool.
Is that all right, Lisa?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay, so
all the skeletons.
Yeah, so this is Sheldon in the corner here.
Does Sheldon stop sometimes?
Sheldon loses his limbs sometimes, but we have, this is our outpatient clinic, and we have like 7 plinths. They're called plinths, not tables. And then, do we have time to walk into the other room?
Sure.
It's 4:50.
Okay, sorry. This is where we have A&P, and of course it's empty right now, but we have the skeletons here, and this is a fun project. We put clay on the skeletons, and like I said, it's very muscle heavy and bone heavy, and that's a lot of fun. And then we also have another room. I'm not making anybody seasick, am I? I hope not. This is our hallway. This is what we call the PTA wing, and then we have some offices here. And I'll turn on a light here. This is more like a hospital setting. So we have a couple hospital beds, and then we have our parallel bars and all the fun assistive devices that you'll be working on with procedures class. So I just wanted to share that because not everybody knows what we have here in Lancaster.
Thanks, Lori. That was awesome.
And that doesn't really do it justice. It's hard to tell, but it is awesome. It's like the whole half of the wing. It is. It's like PTA wing.
Yeah, no one's here but me. So.
All right, guys. Are there any other last minute questions? All right, well, we definitely appreciate you guys joining us for the last hour, and we hope we answered as many questions as you might have. If you have anything else, please let us know. We definitely we pride ourselves on giving you a personal experience through this whole process. So, you know, like Amy said, she'll be here with you every step of the way, and if you need any of us, we're here to help too. So we look forward to hopefully seeing you in Lancaster in January and in October to do your interviews.
Yeah.
All right, guys, have a good
Thank you.
evening. Bye.
Yeah.